I adjusted my tie for the third time, staring at my reflection in the coffee shop's plate glass window. The collar of my shirt felt a little too tight, and my palms were slick with sweat. My phone buzzed. It was Leo again. My sister is seriously great, just when she gets an idea in her head, she's like a bulldog. So just be patient with her, okay? Don't scare her off. A bulldog? I roll my eyes at the screen. That guy never had a clue how to describe people. A small bell chimed as I pushed the door open. A girl was already sitting at the table by the window, white dress, hair combed perfectly neat, fingers laced primly on the table. The afternoon sun caught the ends of her hair, giving it an almost unreal softness. The moment I got close, her head snapped up. Her eyes were bright, like glass marbles rinsed with water, and they locked directly onto mine. Ethan Vance. Her voice was cooler than I expected, like iced lemonade. I just pulled out the chair to sit down. Before I could even manage a hello, the girl across from me, Claire Gao, leaned forward, her nose just inches from my coffee cup. You and Leo are best friends? Like since college? Yeah, we've known each other for almost 10 years. I smiled, trying to lighten the mood. He told me you. Then from now on, you're mine. She cut me off. Her tone is flat, as if she were commenting on the weather. I've been watching you for 3 months. I saw on his Instagram story last week that you were thinking about dating, so I had him set this up. I nearly choked on my coffee. I stared at her, speechless for a moment. Ms. Gao, we just met. Call me Claire. Her fingertips brushed against my wrist. The touch was cool, and my arm went rigid. From today on, you have to tell me where you're going after work. Your phone passcode needs to be my birthday plus your birthday. And her eyes scanned my phone's lock screen. A picture of my rescue cat, Shadow. That has to go. I don't like cats. The sunlight outside suddenly felt blinding. I tried to pull my hand back, but she pressed down gently. Her grip wasn't strong, but her fingers were insistent, as if she were afraid I'd bolt. Claire, this is just a blind date. It doesn't mean. Leo said you're a dependable guy, that you be good to me. She looked up, her eyelashes long, her expression completely serious. I've decided. It's you. You can't run away. My phone buzzed again. It was Leo, with a smirking emoji. My sister's pretty straightforward, right? When this works out, you owe me a steak dinner. I looked at the intensely earnest face in front of me and suddenly understood what Leo meant by a bulldog. It wasn't just stubbornness, it was a seriousness that was kind of terrifying, but underneath that insistence, I could see a flicker of anxiety in her eyes, like a little kid terrified of rejection. It made it hard to be truly angry. As I was paying the bill, she was already scrolling through her phone's calendar. Saturday, we'll see a romance movie. I booked the center seats. Sunday, you're coming to my parents for dinner. My mom's been wanting to meet you. At the door, she suddenly stopped me and tucked a strawberry scrunchie into my pocket. The fabric was soft. Here, so when you see it, you'll think of me. She stood on her toes, her voice as light as the evening breeze. Don't let me lose track of you. I'll worry. The wind lifted the hem of her dress. I clutched the scrunchie in my pocket, my thoughts a jumbled mess. I couldn't tell if it was fear or something else. It just felt like this girl's intensity was like a piece of hard candy. Maybe if you broke through the shell, it would be sweet inside. On the way home, Leo called, gloating. So, my sister's the real deal, right? Totally sincere. You might have mentioned she was this sincere. She's just terrified of missing out on something good. She was hurt pretty bad a while back, so she holds on tight to people she likes. Leo's tone softened. Just cut her some slack. She doesn't have a mean bone in her body. After hanging up, I fumbled for my keys. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something hanging on my apartment doorknob. A little stuffed animal of a black cat, a perfect double for Shadow. Tied around its neck was a strawberry scrunchie identical to the one in my pocket. The wind rustled the leaves in the trees. I stood at my door, clutching the scrunchie, a chill running down my spine. But deep in the chaotic swirl of my emotions, a strange, faint warmth had started to creep in. I was completely out of it during the next morning's team meeting. The strawberry scrunchie in my pocket felt like a rock. The little plastic charm on it kept digging into my side through my shirt, each nudge a reminder of the girl from yesterday, and her words. So when you see it, you'll think of me. My phone vibrated in my lap. A text from an unknown number. Don't play on your phone in meetings. I'm in the coffee shop across from your building. My head snapped up. Through the second floor window of the cafe, Claire Gao was waving at me. In her hand, she was holding a thermos, my own deep blue thermos from my kitchen counter. A cold sweat broke out on the back of my neck. How did she know where I worked? And how did she get into my apartment to grab my thermos? The second the meeting ended, I practically bolted downstairs. I pushed open the coffee shop door, and she slid the thermos across the table toward me. It was still warm. I know you have a sensitive stomach, so I made you some oatmeal this morning. Eat it while it's hot. How did you get in my apartment? I kept my voice low, glancing around nervously, terrified a coworker might see us. And my key. I got your work address from Leo. And the receptionist at your company is super nice. I told her I was your girlfriend, and she let me wait in the lobby. She stirred her coffee. Her tone is casual, as if she were talking about the weather. Your front door wasn't locked properly. I was walking by this morning and just gave a little push. It swung right open. The thermos was on your counter, so I brought it for you. I pinched the bridge of my nose and sighed, trying to stay patient. Claire, we just met. We need to take things slowly. I know you need time to adjust. She suddenly looked up, the light in her eyes dimming. She curled her fingers around her mug, her knuckles turning white. Am I being too pushy? Leo said guys like girls who are gentle. I can change, okay? Just don't hate me. Her expression reminded me of what Leo had said last night. She was hurt pretty bad a while back, so she holds on tight to people she likes. Just as my resolve began to soften, she added in a small voice, but you can't like anyone else. I was just around the corner last night when your team went out for drinks. I saw that woman in the red dress laughing with you. I froze. My department's impromptu happy hour yesterday. She had followed me? I wasn't stalking you. She seemed to read my mind and waved her hands frantically, her fingertips trembling. I just wanted to see you for a little longer. It helps me relax, knowing what you're up to. That afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore and stormed into Leo's office to confront him. He was typing away at his computer. After hearing me out, he slapped his chest and promised, I'll talk to her, man. I will. But she honestly means no harm. She's just really insecure and terrified you're going to leave her. Just then, the office door creaked open. Claire was standing there, holding a basket of fruit. Hey, bro, brought you some strawberries. Her eyes flickered toward me, and the corner of her mouth quirked up. Oh, Ethan's here too. What a coincidence. Leo immediately tried to smooth things over. See? How thoughtful is my sister. She knew you were here, so she brought you your favorite. She held out the washed strawberries to me. They were a brilliant red, exactly like the pattern on her scrunchie. As our fingers touched, she leaned in, her voice a whisper only I could hear. You have to eat strawberries while they're fresh, and you have to hold on to people so you don't lose them. I worked late that night, until 10. As I stepped out of the office building, I saw a white dress standing under a streetlight. Claire was there, holding a jacket, her silhouette haloed in the warm glow. The breeze made her dress sway gently. The forecast said it was going to get cold. I brought you a jacket. What are you still doing out so late? I took the jacket. It carried a faint, sweet scent that smelled like her. She didn't say anything, just reached out to straighten my collar. Her fingers grazed my neck and I flinched. As we passed a corner convenience store, I saw our reflection in the glass. She was on her tiptoes, patting dust off my jacket, except there was no dust. She was just patting it with intense focus, as if performing a sacred ritual. When I got home and took out my keys, I saw a note tucked into the doorframe. It was her handwriting. I left some more milk for you by the door. Don't forget to drink it. You really should get a new lock for your door. It opened with a little push again today. What if a bad person got in? I stood at my door, holding the note. The strawberry scrunchie in my pocket seemed to be radiating heat again. It would be a lie to say I wasn't weirded out. But thinking of her waiting for me under the streetlight, and her worried words, what if a bad person got in? The flicker of annoyance I felt was quietly replaced by a confusing, muddled warmth. My brain felt like it was stuffed with cotton during the Monday morning meeting. The strawberry scrunchie in my pocket was more noticeable than ever. Its plastic charm pressed against my ribs, a constant, nagging reminder of the chaos she'd brought into my life. A mix of frustration at being cornered in my own office and a strange, undeniable sense of being cared for. My phone buzzed under the table. A text from Claire. I wore a new dress today. I'll show you after your meeting. I had just locked my phone when my department director walked in. Everyone, I'd like to introduce our new intern, Claire Gao. She'll be helping out with project documentation for the time being. From behind the door emerged a figure in a white dress. Claire stood there, clutching a folder, a brand new intern badge clipped to her shirt. Her eyes were aimed directly at me. My stomach dropped. How on earth did she end up working here? She walked straight to my side of the conference table and casually straightened the projector remote, which had been sitting crooked. Her fingers then moved to my collar, fixing my slightly askew tie. Ethan, your tie is crooked again. The room fell silent. Every single head turned to stare, their expressions a mix of curiosity and amusement. I caught our colleague Janet's faint, knowing smirk. I could feel sweat prickling the back of my neck. I was pinned to my chair, my back burning with embarrassment. When it was my turn to present our project proposal, my voice trembled slightly. I was in the middle of explaining some key data points when a Slack notification popped up on the screen. It was from Claire. Last week, while you were out, Janet copied your client files onto a USB drive. I just sent the backups with timestamps to your email. My hand tightened on the mouse. I glanced up and my eyes met Janet's. She was pretending to take notes, but her fingers were flying across her phone under the table. My heart sank. No wonder she'd been asking me about the proposal details yesterday. This was her game. When it was Janet's turn to present, she unveiled a proposal that was shockingly similar to mine, right down to the data charts. The director frowned. Why do these two proposals look almost identical? Because Janet's was based on my initial draft, I said, taking a deep breath. I clicked open the prepared screenshot of my email, the send time clearly marked from the day before Janet submitted her version. Luckily, I make a habit to keep backups. The color drained from Janet's face. Her lips trembled, but before she could say anything, Claire spoke up. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was perfectly clear. I was in the break room yesterday and saw Janet going through Ethan's filing cabinet. The security camera should have caught it. She pulled out her phone and played a video. The screen clearly showed Janet furtively rifling through my files. The meeting room erupted in murmurs. The director's face was grim. He immediately announced that Janet's candidacy for the team lead position was suspended. After the meeting, my coworkers crowded around me, clapping me on the back. Nice one, Ethan. Your girlfriend is your guardian angel. How'd she even manage to catch that? Claire stood behind me, gently tugging on the hem of my shirt. Her eyes were shining like they were filled with stars. I helped you, didn't I? On the way back to our desks, she walked beside me, her voice low. I won't let anyone bully you. Her fingertips brushed against the back of my hand, cool and fleeting. Just like you wouldn't let anyone bully me. At lunch, Leo called, his voice a mix of shock and exasperation. Why didn't you tell me my sister started an internship at your company? She stayed up all night for a week, rewriting her resume just to get into your department. She said she was afraid you'd think she wasn't smart enough. I turned to look at her desk. Claire was crouching down, taking the mug I'd forgotten to wash yesterday to the break room. She came back with it filled with freshly brewed chamomile tea, my favorite kind. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, landing on the crown of her head and making her hair look soft and fuzzy. She was focused, carefully organizing files, the line of her profile gentle and serene. In that moment, her relentless persistence didn't seem so scary anymore. As I was leaving for the day, she came running after me, clutching her laptop, the hem of her dress fluttering. My mom wants you to come over for dinner tomorrow. She's making her pot roast. You mentioned to Leo once that you loved it. Seeing me hesitate, she quickly added, Leo will be there too. He said if you don't come, he'll send me that video of you singing cheesy love songs shirtless in your dorm room back in college. I looked at the hopeful, anxious expression in her eyes and couldn't help but laugh. This girl, even her threats were ridiculously sincere. For the gals lived in an older apartment building in a historic neighborhood. Before I even reached the entryway, the rich, savory smell of cooking floated down the hallway. Claire's mom opened the door, wiping her hands on her apron before taking mine. Her palms were warm. We finally get to meet you. Claire's been talking about you all morning. Said you love pot roast, so I've been slow cooking it for hours until it's perfectly tender. In the living room, Leo was sprawled on the sofa, playing a video game. He saw me and winked. You made it. My sister's in the kitchen, setting the table. She lined up all the forks perfectly straight, said she had to save the best set for you. Claire, wearing a pink apron, peeked out from the kitchen. She had a smudge of flour on her cheek, making her look like a little squirrel caught snacking. Her eyes lit up the second she saw me, and she forgot to even put down the spatula in her hand. You're here. The soup is almost ready. Just 5 more minutes. At the dinner table, Mrs. Gow never stopped putting food on my plate. The pot roast was piled up like a small mountain. She's our only daughter. We've spoiled her rotten since she was little, she said, smiling at Claire. If she ever does anything wrong, you'll have to be the patient one. Leo chimed in from the side. Mom, let them figure out their own stuff. Don't meddle. Claire suddenly put down her fork, her back ramrod straight, as if she were giving a presentation. Ethan and I are planning to go see his parents next month. I nearly spit out my rice, but her mom just beamed, her eyes crinkling into happy lines. Wonderful, wonderful. I'll go pick out a gift for his mother tomorrow. I saw a beautiful silk scarf at the mall the other day. Mrs. Gow, we haven't really, I started to explain, but Claire gently kicked my foot under the table, giving me a look that said, don't you dare. Her toes pressed against my shoe with a stubborn insistence. After dinner, Leo pulled me out onto the balcony and offered me a cigarette. The evening air was cool, and the faint sound of music drifted up from a nearby park. Is my sister moving a little too fast? He scratched his head. That's just how she is. Once she decides on something, she wants to get it done all at once. I looked into the living room, where Claire was clearing the dishes. She was carefully setting the bowl I had used into the sink by itself, her movements so gentle you'd think it was made of fine china. She doesn't seem to understand the concept of boundaries, I said. Leo sighed, the lighter clicking open. She was bullied pretty badly by her classmates in high school. One time she fell during gym class, scraped her knee up, and the entire class just stood there and watched. No one helped her. I had to skip class to carry her home. He took a drag from his cigarette. Ever since then, she's been terrified of being abandoned. She latches on extra tight to the people she cares about. The wind blew the smoke away. I suddenly thought of the strawberry candies she always carried in her pocket, the way her knuckles turned white when she was nervous. So that was it. Behind all that intensity was a deep-seated fear. When I went back inside, I saw Claire holding my phone. My stomach tightened, and I started to walk over, but she held up the charger and smiled. It was about to die. I'm plugging it in for you. The screen was lit up with my family photo. She pointed to it. Are these your parents? Can we buy some fruit and go visit them next week? I haven't even told them about. Oh, I already called your mom. She pulled out her own phone. In her call history was my mom's number, saved as Ethan's mom. She said she's free next Sunday and that we should come over for dinner early. I stood there stunned. Across the room, Leo gave me a covert thumbs up, mouthing the words, "Please, man, just go with it." Claire suddenly linked her arm through mine, pressing her cheek against my sleeve. Her voice was soft. "Don't be mad, okay? I just really want to be part of your family." Her hair tickled my wrist, carrying the faint scent of strawberry shampoo. Looking at the mix of hope and anxiety in her eyes, the protest I was about to make died on my lips. When I left, Claire handed me a heavy, insulated container. "Tomorrow's lunch. Honey-glazed salmon," she said as she walked me downstairs. The streetlight stretched her shadow long behind her. "You mentioned the salmon in the cafeteria is always overcooked." The evening breeze lifted the hem of her dress. She looked up at me, her eyes sparkling in the darkness. "Ethan, you're not going to back out of this, are you?" I looked at the light in her eyes, like a tiny flame she was afraid would be blown out, and against my better judgment, I nodded. A huge smile instantly spread across her face, revealing 2 small dimples. On the way home, the warmth from the container seeped through the bag. I felt the strawberry candy she had slipped in my pocket and thought to myself that maybe, just maybe, this could actually be pretty sweet. 5 on the way to my parents' house on Sunday. Claire's palm was sweating so much it made my fingers damp. She wore a pale blue dress, and the wind made the hem flutter as she walked. She clutched a box with a scarf for my mom, so tightly the corners were starting to wrinkle. "What if your mom thinks I'm too skinny? What if she thinks I'm too quiet?" she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "My mom's super easygoing. She said she was excited to meet you when we video chatted last week." I reassured her, using my free hand to smooth a few strands of hair the wind had blown across her face. My fingertips brushed her ear, which was surprisingly hot, like she was hiding a little furnace inside. My mom opened the door, her eyes lighting up the second she saw Claire. She grabbed her hand and pulled her inside. "You must be Claire. You're even prettier than in the pictures. Come in, it's windy out there." At the dinner table, Claire was as timid as a startled rabbit. She took tiny bites of rice, her fork poking aimlessly at her food, unable to pick up a single piece of chicken. My mom kept piling food on her plate. "Eat up, you're so thin. Claire, you have to come over more often. I'll make you all my best dishes." My dad asked her about work, and she sat up straight, answering each question seriously, her voice barely a whisper. After dinner, my mom pulled me into the kitchen. "That girl seems to have a good heart," she said in a low voice. "She's really serious about you." She gestured toward the living room. "I saw her phone lock screen is a picture of you, and her passcode is your birthday. But isn't she a little too attached?" My heart sank. Just as I was about to explain, we heard a loud crash from the living room. We rushed out to see Claire kneeling on the floor, picking up pieces of a broken ceramic mug. My dad's phone was on the floor beside her. A thin line of blood was welling up from a cut on her finger. "What happened?" I immediately knelt and helped her up, pulling her hand toward the kitchen. "We need some antiseptic." It was my fault. Her eyes were red, tears shimmering. "Your dad wanted to see a picture of you, but I fumbled my phone when I tried to hand it to him, and I knocked over your mom's mug." My dad waved his hands frantically. "It wasn't your fault at all. I'm the one who didn't catch the phone properly. It's all on me." After my parents left, Claire sat on the sofa in silence, her head bowed, her shoulders slumped. I came back with antiseptic and a bandage, gently taking her hand to clean the cut. She hissed in pain, but didn't pull away. Just then, her phone screen lit up. A photo popped up on the screen. It was her with an unfamiliar guy with what looked like a high school campus in the background. Who's that? I couldn't help but ask. She snatched the phone as if it had burned her hands trembling as she quickly locked the screen. Just an old classmate, she mumbled. We don't talk anymore. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, her red-rimmed eyes replaying in my mind. My phone suddenly buzzed. It was a text from Leo with a photo attached. This is the guy who bullied my sister in high school. He passed around a love letter she wrote him and got all the other kids to ignore her. She spent weeks just crying in her room. In the photo, Claire looked rail-thin like a bean sprout. She was standing alone in a corner of the schoolyard, with all the other students keeping their distance. My heart clenched, a dull ache spreading through my chest. I thought about her constant cautiousness, the way her knuckles turned white when she was nervous, the anxious look in her eyes whenever she saw me talking to a female colleague. So that was it. Her once I decided, I'll never let go, intensity wasn't about being controlling. It was about being terrified of being abandoned all over again. The next day at work, I left a box of strawberry candies on her desk, the same kind she always carried, with a note attached. Free during your lunch break? There's a place I want to take you. Her reply was instantaneous. I'm always free for you, followed by a bouncing bear emoji that made me smile. During our break, I took her to a park near the office. We found a bench bathed in sunlight and sat down. The warm rays fell on her, making her hair seem almost translucent. Claire, I began, choosing my words carefully, my voice gentle. Whatever happened in the past, you should try to let it go. She suddenly grabbed my hand, her nails digging into my skin. Her voice trembled. You're not going to be like them, are you? You're not going to get tired of me and just leave me? Never, I said, looking directly into her eyes. But we need to take our time. We need to give each other a little space, okay? And if something's on your mind, you have to talk to me about it. Don't just keep it all inside. She was silent for a long moment before nodding slowly. The sun caught on her eyelashes, making them look like they were dusted with gold. Okay, I'll listen to you. After a pause, she added in a small voice, but you still can't like anyone else. Not even a little bit. Seeing her look so earnest and wounded at the same time, I couldn't help but laugh. I reached out and ruffled her hair. I know, you little ball of jealousy. Her hair was soft, like a kitten I'd petted at the shelter. The sunlight fell on her face, and she finally smiled, her eyes curving into crescents. She was more beautiful than any flower in the park. After that day, Claire really seemed to change. She no longer showed up unexpectedly outside my office building in the mornings. Instead, a fresh breakfast would be waiting on my desk every day, sometimes a perfectly made sandwich with a fried egg, other times a thermos of oatmeal, insulated with a hand-knitted cozy she'd made to keep it warm. A small note was tucked beside each meal, written in her neat, careful script. Today's oatmeal has sweet potato. Good for your stomach. Don't eat the sandwich on an empty stomach. Have some water first. When Leo stopped by the office to drop off some files, he saw the note in my hand and shook his head in amazement. What did you do to my sister? Now, when I text her, it takes her half an hour to reply, but she's more reliable than my alarm clock when it comes to you. I just smiled, but I knew the truth. She hadn't changed. She had just learned to hide her intensity a little better. Last week, I called in sick with a cold. That evening, as I was shivering under the covers, my phone buzzed. It was a message from her. I'm downstairs. I left some ginger tea with the doorman. Make sure you heat it up before you drink it. It was followed by a small sun emoji. She didn't come up and knock. She didn't blow up my phone. She just quietly left her care package for me. For a department team building event, we went camping in the suburbs. That night, as we sat around a bonfire grilling food, Janet walked over with a beer, a slightly forced smile on her face. Ethan, about what happened before. I'm really sorry. It's fine. It's all in the past, I said, taking the beer. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Claire sitting on the other side of the fire, stabbing at a hot dog on a stick so hard I thought she was going to break it. Janet followed my gaze and chuckled. Your girlfriend really cares about you. The whole time I was talking to you, just now, she was looking at me like a mother tiger protecting her cub. A warmth spread through my chest. I took my beer and went to sip beside her. She handed me the hot dog she had just finished grilling, covered in the extra spicy chili powder I liked. What did she say to you? She asked quietly, her eyes fixed on the fire, the flickering flames dancing in her reflection. Nothing important, just work stuff. I took a bite of the hot dog. It was so hot I winced, but the flavor was perfect. Aren't you having any? She shook her head. I'm not hungry, but her eyes were glued to my hands, and when she saw how much I was enjoying the food, the corners of her mouth secretly turned up like a little kid who'd just gotten away with stealing a cookie. Late that night, long after everyone else was asleep, the cold woke me up. I groggily felt something draped over me. It was Claire's white jacket, still carrying her faint strawberry scent. I heard soft footsteps outside the tent. I unzipped the flap just a crack and saw her sitting by the dying embers of the bonfire. The faint glow illuminated her phone screen. When I got closer, I realized she was reading an article titled "A Guide to a Healthy Relationship." Her fingers scrolled down the screen as she mumbled to herself, "Give your partner space. Don't be too clingy. Why are you still awake?" I asked, sitting down next to her. The fire crackled, sending sparks into the air. She jumped, and her phone clattered to the ground. She scrambled to pick it up and turn it off. I couldn't sleep. I thought I'd toast some marshmallows for you. She threaded a marshmallow onto a stick and held it over the fire, turning it slowly. The flames cast a warm, reddish glow on her face. The marshmallow turned a perfect golden brown, slightly caramelized at the edges. She blew on it gently and handed it to me. "Careful, it's hot." I took a bite. It was perfectly sweet, and a sticky strand clung to the corner of my mouth. "Claire," I said, wiping my mouth, "you don't have to study these things. I like you just the way you are." Her head snapped up, her eyes shining as brightly as a star-filled sky. "Really? Really?" I reached out and wiped a smudge of sugar from her lips. My fingertip brushed her skin, and she shivered slightly. "I like how serious you are. And I like how much you worry about me." We talked for a long time that night. She told me how she used to fight with Leo over snacks when they were kids, and how he always gave her the biggest piece in the end. She told me about the first time she ever saw me, when I came to pick Leo up from school, and how she thought my smile was the nicest thing she'd ever seen. She secretly wrote my name in her diary over and over again. She told me how, on the day she got the internship offer from my company, she was so excited she couldn't sleep, tossing and turning all night, trying to decide what to wear. "I was so scared you'd find me annoying," she whispered, her voice almost lost in the wind. "Leo always says I'm too clingy, that I'd scare you away." "You won't," I said, taking her hand. It was still cool to the touch, and I warmed it in mine. "But from now on, if you want to do something, just tell me first. Don't try to figure it all out by yourself, okay?" She nodded vigorously, the light in her eyes brighter than a bonfire. She squeezed my hand back, her grip so tight it was as if she was afraid I'd disappear. The firelight danced across her face. Suddenly, the chilly night didn't feel so cold anymore. Just when I thought we were finally finding our rhythm, disaster struck. Our company landed a huge new project. During the kickoff meeting, the director announced that I would be co-leading it with Janet, explaining it was a good opportunity for a senior member to mentor a junior one. The moment the words were out of his mouth, I felt a pair of eyes burning a hole in my back. "Ik glänst overal, Claire." She was sitting at her desk, and the folder in her hands slammed onto the table with a loud smack. She didn't give me so much as a glance for the rest of the day. At lunch, I brought my coffee over to her desk, hoping to talk things out. "It's just a work assignment. As soon as the project is over, we can go see that new movie you were talking about, okay?" She didn't say a word. Instead, she picked up my water glass and slammed it down on the desk. Water sloshed everywhere as the glass spun in a circle. "Are you still in love with her?" Her eyes were red as she glared at me, her voice trembling. "Otherwise, why wouldn't you refuse when the director assigned you to work with her?" "Claire, why are you being like this again?" I felt a surge of helplessness. I grabbed some napkins and knelt to wipe up the spill. "We agreed to trust each other. You promised me when we were camping. Trust means watching you work with the person who tried to ruin your career." Her voice rose, and heads started to turn in our direction, but she didn't care. "She stole your proposal and almost cost you a promotion. Have you forgotten that? You just think she's better than me." "It was a professional mistake, and she apologized for it," I said, trying to pull her aside, my voice low and urgent. "We're at work. Can we please not make a scene? Be mature about this." "Mature? Does being mature mean I have to stand by and watch you get played for a fool?" Her eyes grew redder, tears welling up. She suddenly turned and ran, knocking her chair over with a loud crash as she fled. For the next few days, there were no more breakfasts on my desk. She didn't reply to my texts. Leo, however, didn't hesitate to call. "My sister has been crying at home for 2 days straight," he yelled into the phone. "She said you and Janet are back on good terms. Is that true? If you dare hurt her, you and I are done. We're just work colleagues." My head was pounding. She's being overly sensitive. She blows every little thing out of proportion. "She's not being sensitive, she's scared." Leo sighed, his voice dropping. "That guy from high school? He was acting all sweet to her while telling everyone else what a psycho she was. Then he dumped her. She's terrified you're going to do the same thing. Be nice to her face while you're secretly involved with someone else." After the call, I stared at the empty space on my desk where her breakfast used to be, a hollow feeling in my chest. I couldn't focus at all during the project meeting. Janet slid a data report across the table. There's an issue with some of these numbers. Could you double-check them? I took the report and started flipping through it. Tucked between the pages was a small, folded note. It was Claire's handwriting, the strokes sharp and urgent. She changed her core data. Compare it against the original backup. Be careful she doesn't try to frame you. I looked up and met Janet's eyes. A faint, knowing smile played on her lips, sending a chill down my spine. I calmly tucked the report away, my heart a mix of shock and a sudden, fierce warmth. Even when she was furious with me, this girl was still looking out for me. After the meeting, I cornered Janet in the stairwell, slapping the report against the wall. You changed these numbers, didn't you? Didn't you learn your lesson the first time? Her face went pale, but she quickly tried to regain her composure. Ethan, don't be so dramatic. I just thought there was a problem with the data and made a few adjustments to help you out. Stay away from me. I cut her off, my voice cold. If this ever happens again, I'm taking the evidence straight to the director and making sure you never work in this city again. Back in the office, I went straight to Claire's desk. She was slumped over, her shoulders shaking. I'm sorry, I said, standing in front of her. I softened my voice. I should have protected you better. And I was wrong to call you immature. I was wrong. She lifted her head, and tears streamed down her face, splashing onto the desk. I didn't mean to fight with you. I was just so scared. Scared she would trick you, and scared you'd think she was better and leave me. I know. I handed her a tissue and crouched down to meet her gaze. From now on, I'll tell you everything that's going on at work. I'll never let you worry like that again, okay? She sniffled and pulled a strawberry candy from her pocket, pressing it into my hand. The wrapper was crinkled from her grip. Here, you said you liked this flavor. I took it, unwrapped it, and popped it in her mouth. She held the candy on her tongue, still crying, but the corners of her lips began to curl into a tiny, hesitant smile. 8. On the night the project successfully launched, the company threw a celebration dinner. The private room was loud and boisterous, filled with the sound of clinking glasses and laughter. Claire wore a red dress that made her skin look like porcelain. She sat quietly beside me, and whenever someone came over to offer a toast, she would stand up with a smile. He's got a sensitive stomach. I'll drink for him. I can hold my liquor. As she tipped her head back to drink, her eyelashes fluttered. I gently touched her hand under the table, and she immediately laced her fingers with mine. Her skin was cool. When Janet approached with her wine glass, she looked uncomfortable, her smile plastered on. Ethan, congratulations. The project was a huge success. Thanks, I replied curtly, with no intention of making small talk. Claire suddenly looked up, her tone soft but sharp. Janet, you don't look so well. Are you feeling okay? Maybe you should head home and get some rest. Janet's face paled. She mumbled something about us enjoying our meal and quickly walked away. Leo sidled up to me, nudging me with his elbow. Look at you two. You're totally in sync now. The way my sister protects you. It's just like my mom with my dad back in the day. I smiled and squeezed Claire's hand. She squeezed back even tighter, a secret little smile playing on her lips. Halfway through the dinner, the director stood up and clapped his hands, silencing the room. I have an announcement to make, he said, his expression serious. Janet Ling has been terminated from the company for repeatedly falsifying project data. We have already filed a police report and will be pursuing further legal action. A wave of shocked whispers spread through the room. I froze for a second, then turned to look at Claire. She was calmly stirring the soup in her bowl. Her expression so peaceful, it was as if she knew this was coming all along. Was that you? I whispered in her ear. She looked at me and nodded, her voice tiny. I sent the director the security footage of her altering the data. I also had the records of her copying your files. I kept everything. When did you? I was stunned. The day you told me we had to trust her, I went and checked the security logs, she said, her voice dropping even lower as she stirred her soup. But I didn't tell you right away. I was afraid you'd think I was being paranoid again, that I didn't trust you. A pang of regret hit me. I reached out and stroked her hair. You fool. You should have told me. Her hair was as soft as cotton. From now on, whatever it is, we face it together. Okay. She nodded vigorously, her eyes shining. She pushed her soup bowl toward me. Have some soup to warm your stomach. You had a little to drink. On the way home, the moonlight spilled across the pavement, stretching her shadows long behind us. The night air was fragrant with the smell of blooming flowers. Ethan, Claire said, stopping in her tracks. She looked up at me, her eyes like dark, shimmering pools in the moonlight. I know I was awful before. I was always trying to tie you to me, checking your phone, following you. That's all in the past, I said, cutting her off gently as I took her hand. No, it's not. She looked at me with earnest intensity, her fingers clutching my sleeve. I know I don't know how to love someone properly. I always use the wrong methods, and I end up frustrating you and exhausting myself. But I'm learning. I'll get better slowly. Are you willing to wait for me? The street light illuminated her face. I could see she was biting her lip, her eyes filled with a mixture of anxiety and hope. I thought back to our first meeting when she had so brazenly declared, "You're mine now." I thought of the milk she left by my door and the way her face flushed when she took a drink from me. This girl's love had always been overwhelming. She had just been channeling it the wrong way. "I'm willing," I said, pulling her into a hug. She smelled faintly of strawberry body wash. "Actually, I can't wait for you to learn how to love me and for me to learn how to understand you better." She stiffened in my arms for a moment, then slowly relaxed, wrapping her arms tightly around my waist. Her voice was muffled against my chest. "Well, in that case, you're not allowed to like anyone else. You're not allowed to talk to other girls too much. You're not allowed to." Okay, I get it. I laughed, patting her on the back. "But you're also not allowed to secretly check my phone. Or follow me. Or, I know." She mumbled into my chest, her voice full of laughter. "I guess that makes us even." A gentle breeze rustled past, carrying the sweet scent of flowers. I looked down at the girl in my arms and thought that this chaotic, caring, complicated feeling was actually pretty wonderful. 9. That weekend, I took Claire back to my parents' place. We could hear my mom bustling around in the kitchen from all the way down the hall. The moment I opened the door, my mom rushed out, still holding a spatula, and grabbed Claire's hands. "Claire, you're here. Come in. I made you that short rib stew you said you liked last time." Claire stumbled forward, almost dropping the silk scarf she had bought for my mom. Her face flushed a deep red as she mumbled, "Hi, Mrs. Vance." My dad was in the living room reading the paper. He lowered it and smiled. "You're here. Have a seat." His eyes, however, kept darting over to Claire, and he gave me a subtle look that clearly said, "This one's a keeper." At the dinner table, my mom put more food on Claire's plate than on mine. "Eat more. Build up your strength," she said, the corners of her eyes crinkling. "So, Claire, when are you and Ethan planning on making things official? You two seem perfect for each other." Before Claire had even swallowed her bite of food, she shot up from her chair, gripping her fork tightly. "Mr. and Mrs. Vance, I know I've been a little impulsive in the past, and I've made Ethan upset," she said, taking a deep breath. Her eyes were bright as she looked at my parents. "But I truly love Ethan. I'll learn to be good to him. I'll learn how to cook and clean, and I'll learn to be more considerate. You could trust me with him." My mom's eyes grew misty. She pulled Claire back down into her seat. "Silly girl, we already think of you as family. If Ethan ever gives you any trouble, you tell me. I'll set him straight for you." After dinner, as I was walking Claire home, we passed by the coffee shop where we had our first date. She stopped suddenly. "Want to go in for a bit?" We sat at the same table by the window. She ordered 2 lattes just like last time. The sunlight streamed through the glass onto our table. As she stirred her coffee, she smiled. "You know, on our first date, my palms were sweating like crazy. Leo told me you like gentle girls, so I practiced smiling in the mirror for days. But the second I saw you, I forgot everything and just started saying a bunch of stupid stuff." I thought about how she had so seriously declared, "You're mine now," and I couldn't help but laugh. "I thought you were just naturally that bossy." "I was faking it," she said, a blush creeping up her cheeks. Her stirring slowed. "I was afraid you wouldn't be interested, so I figured I'd claim you first. I was scared someone else would snatch you up." We both laughed, and all the past awkwardness and misunderstandings seemed to evaporate with the steam from our coffee. As we were leaving, she pulled a small box from her bag and held it out to me, her fingers trembling slightly. "This is for you." I opened it. Inside was a hand-stitched keychain with a design of 2 hands holding. The stitches were a little crooked, but it was clear how much care had gone into making it. It took me a long time to learn how to make it. It might be a little ugly. It's not ugly at all. It's perfect. I immediately took it and attached it to my key ring, giving a little jingle. Now I'll have it with me every day. We walked to the foot of her apartment building. The evening air was cool and smelled of flowers. She suddenly stood on her toes and quickly kissed my cheek. The touch was soft, like a marshmallow. "Ethan, I love you," she said. Then, her face bright red, she turned and ran, her dress fluttering in the breeze. "I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow." I stood there for a long time, touching the spot on my cheek where she'd kissed me, a wide smile on my face. The wind blew past, carrying that sweet floral scent. My heart felt like it was holding a strawberry candy, warm and sweet all the way through. Watching her run up the stairs, I realized that this girl, a little clumsy, a little intense, had somehow, without me even noticing, already made a home for herself in my heart.